One, she's asking a little bit about, I think, kind of demographics of full service versus self-service. The theory that in most cases, full service works better in a more affluent neighborhoods, I guess, whereas self-serve more in low income. But I don't know. I feel like that maybe model is not entirely always true. I don't know. Either of you speak to demographics of self-serve versus full service and location.
Sure. So I'll kind of jump in to start and say it's a location-based service. If there are customers within the geography, even if they're coming to that area to work, our public laundromat is in a very working class area. It is not in an affluent area, and we do hundreds upon hundreds of pounds of drop-off service for everyone that works, from people that work at the dealerships, the automobile dealerships that are around the corner. They want their, golf shirts and pants to be washed, dried, and folded, all the way up to, we do more business shirts from people that come in that are traveling, things of that nature. And it's a little bit more proximity based for some of that wash, dry, fold business, in my opinion. So, Rob?
So that's the great thing about pickup and delivery, right, Randy? Is it's kind of the great equalizer. So you can have your plant in the not best neighborhood, but if you're willing to offer pickup and delivery in higher, what we call full service areas, is I think how the person asked the question, then you can do that, right? In terms of demographics for where you locate your business, if you want to have self-service or walk-in business, demographics are going to be very important. But if you're willing to offer pickup and delivery, in theory, it all depends on how far you want to go. And we haven't really talked about that, right, Randy? There are certain limits as to how far you will send your guys out to pick stuff up. But once you determine what that right size is, that can make your market. A good way to look at it is if you build a laundromat, you're probably building it with demographics of 1, 3, or 5 miles radius around it. But with pickup and delivery, it's a lot bigger, right, Randy? You're probably looking at 10, 15, 20 mile radius. So by offering the pickup and delivery, you expand your market considerably, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I'm a little bit more aggressive than most, and we will drive a little bit more than that, what a traditional wash, dry, fold service would do if the opportunity's right.
Yeah, and that's a good point, especially like on commercial. I don't know about you, Randy, but we'll probably try anything once just to see if it's going to be a good fit and going to work. And in fact, in some cases, we'll do the first time for free just to have that opportunity to try to see how it's going to work out. And some of them have been pretty crazy over the years. I mean, we've had some pretty unique requests to do stuff, but I would argue until you try it and do it a couple of times. The other thing is you learn a little bit about your client too, whether or not you think there's a good fit and a good opportunity to do business, because some are going to be a lot more demanding than others. So we'll probably give anything to try at least one time to see, even if it's a long. I mean, this is a great CLA story, but we had a linen client that had multiple locations in Texas. We're in Houston, and they had even bigger one in Austin, Texas. Well, I had a friend in the CLA that had a facility in Austin, and I was able to convince him to go after their Austin business, and we were able to go after the Houston business. So by having that connection, we were able to provide service at both locations, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, I've done the same. We had a customer that was in Columbus, had a location in Cincinnati, made a phone call and set them up and just said, I'd like you to do it for this price if this fits in your matrix. And it was a pretty high price, so they didn't have a problem doing that. But I agree with you, and I'm maybe a little bit more aggressive. That might be my fatal flaw.
You don't know until you try, right? You don't know until you give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to drive 60 miles to pick something up.
If the numbers are there, heck yeah.
2-hour drive.
We were both sales guys, so I used to have accounts where I knew if I just made the effort to make the 2 or 3 hour trip to go see this customer, the business was mine. All I had to do was make the effort. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'd be surprised. Most of the sales guys are too lazy to overlook it. They don't want to make the effort, but a lot of times those can be some of your best opportunities.